So what you're about to see is my reaction to the Hillsborough Stadium disaster. Now, this has been cut down. The original video was blocked and the dispute was rejected. So I'm hoping that I don't have to wind up doing this to the point of you get to see 5 seconds of video and then my reaction to everything that led up to that that's kind of been cut out. But we'll see, because I've got sections of video that are missing. I've cut down like it was an overall 40-minute reaction. I think you're seeing almost 20 something minutes of it. So yeah, it's been cut down a bit. My apologies. So here you go.
It was like any build-up to a big game. At 2:24, Liverpool fans are seen making the journey by foot from the station to the stadium. Kick-offs in half an hour, and people are tightly packed at the turnstile entrance to the Lettings Lane terrace. CCTV footage, which was being monitored by police that day, shows how the crowd outside was growing by the minute.
Well, it seems like the people at the stadium and the police as well, like if you're getting that big of a swell of people, seems like measures could be taken, right? Just throwing that out. I mean, that's just postulating on my part. I would say throwing that out there, but it's just postulating. It would seem like, okay, if you run the stadium itself and you're one of the police and you're monitoring things from afar, it would seem that, okay, something needs to be done. We've got way too many people that are crowding up, trying to come in here. Maybe we need to take and somehow stem the tide, right? That is a massive
Inside,
people too.
The two centre pens of the terrace were packed, but people were in good spirits.
Jesus Christ.
But at 2:40, the first real sign that things were going badly wrong, with a young boy lifted clear from the crush. Superintendent Roger Marshall, who was a police officer in charge outside the ground, is clearly worried. He later said he feared fatalities could occur.
You could probably have fatalities if somebody just fell in that crowd and just got trampled. Just the sheer amount of people. I've been to concerts where it's just a mass of people and you take and get pushed up on and it feels like you're going to be crushed. I couldn't imagine a crowd of this size. Like that's... Oh.
Inside, everyone was heading to the jammed centre pens, despite there being plenty of room in the pens at either end of the terrace. 2:52, with the crowds building and kick-off drawing closer, the police made the decision to open the exit gate. Over the course of 5 minutes, 2,000 fans streamed through, with most of them heading straight to the centre pens.
And the match is on with Liverpool in red playing from...
Just a couple of minutes into the game, it became clear something was wrong behind the Liverpool goal. It seems initially police thought it was a pitch invasion. But soon people were collapsing on both sides of the fence.
Why would you take and open an exit for more people to enter when you've got that many, like, that big of a throng? Why?
At 6 minutes past 3, police ordered the players off the pitch. But it still seemed they hadn't grasped the scale of the tragedy unfolding before their eyes. It wasn't until 12 minutes past 3 that the first medic, a St John's ambulance volunteer, climbed over the fence onto the terrace. By then, people had already died or were dying. At the back and front of the pen, supporters were trampled in the desperation. Others tried to get out however they could. Then, at 16 minutes past 3, the first ambulance arrived pitchside. But that was already too late.
Part of your job as the police is crowd control. That was piss poor crowd control. If you open one of those exit gates, you're going to have just a mass of people enter. Things already look sketchy. Why would you do that? Why? That's holy Jesus. All right, so we'll take and use two videos for this. We got hopefully there's no block on this because it's from the Guardian, but it being something news, normally stuff that includes news clips and news stories are allowed to be used and commented on and things of that nature. You see it all throughout YouTube in numerous different formats. So we're hoping that's going to be the case here. Claim it all they want. I don't give a shit. Just don't block it. I'm baffled at how things look sketch already. You see the throng of people and you as a constable are panicking, or the inspector, you're panicking and you're worried that there could be fatalities, and you open the exits to allow people in. That's just a fuck up on such a monstrous level. It's mind-boggling.
On the 15th of April 1989, 54,000 people attended the FA Cup semi-final between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest, which was held at Sheffield Wednesday's football ground, Hillsborough. 96 men, women and children who went there to support Liverpool died in a lethal crush on the Leppings Lane terrace. 400 more were taken to hospital with injuries. After a 26-year fight for justice by the victims' families, the South Yorkshire police officer in charge, Chief Superintendent David Duckenfield, admitted at the new inquest into the disaster that his serious failings caused the deaths and injuries.
But why did it take 26 fucking years for that to happen? Why does it take 26 years for an inquest to even... Like, that's beyond the pale. 26 years to figure out somebody messed up? Like, really?
Even as people were dying in the central pens of the terrace, Duckenfield lied and said that Liverpool supporters had gained unauthorised entry via an exit gate. Nevertheless started a story which the South Yorkshire Police told to the media and official legal procedures which followed, that the people who had suffered themselves were drunken hooligans who were to blame for the disaster.
If I rant, if I show extreme disgust or anything of that nature, I'm still, 26 years to figure out. 26 years, how? 26 years. The fact that he's going to sit there and say that the fans gained unlawful entry and blame it on drunkenness, that's... Oh, fucking hell. That's criminal. That's you should 96 deaths on your head. You should serve the rest of your life, however short it is, in prison. Or be put to death. That's just unconscionable. Holy shit.
A huge volume of evidence has been heard about the disaster and about the decisions South Yorkshire Police made, leading to the appointment 19 days before the semi-final of Chief Superintendent David Duckenfield, who had never commanded a match at Hillsborough before. Wright's removal of Chief Superintendent Mole followed the disciplining of 8 other officers for an excessive prank they played on a probationary constable in October 1988. The official reason for Mole's move to Barnsley was that it was career development, but he was an expert at football policing and had commanded the semi-finals at Hillsborough. Duckenfield, a known disciplinarian, had policed in Sheffield city centre, but had not even been on duty at Hillsborough for 10 years when Peter Wright promoted him to replace Mole and take command of the match. Major admissions at the new inquests, Duckenfield confessed that he failed to do basic preparation for the semi-final. He did...
Was there no communication between, like, could you... we're not 3 minutes in and my head hurts just from the sheer just lack of everything on this. Oh my God. How do you not, even if you do move him, he's still an officer, which means he has to follow whatever orders. Why it would make sense for them to be like, all right, look, we're gonna move you over here, but for this, you got to come back for this match right here, or train this fool. Jesus Christ.
He did not even visit the ground before signing off the police's operational plan.
What?
He failed to
Oh my
read
God.
relevant safety documents. Duckinfield did not even know that the police were responsible for monitoring the numbers of people in each pen, and he admitted that his focus before the match was solely on dealing with misbehaviour.
We're not. I would apologize for stopping so often, but I'm not going to. I'm one of those people that if you've got a job to do, you do it fucking correctly. It's even more so. It's even more so necessary for someone like the police to do their job properly, because otherwise you get misappropriations of justice. Outside of that, in situations like this, like for me, if you're gonna do your job, you take and learn not only the ins and outs of your job, but you learn adjacent jobs as well. Because the more you know, even outside of your job, if it's adjacent to what you're doing, the better you can do your job. Because if something fails over here, you understand how it fucking works. How do you not, how are you put over something like that? That's for the safety of people, and you not take an interest and look at not only the safety statutes that need to be followed and the guidelines, but you just whatever for the plan.
He did not consider the need to protect people from overcrowding or crushing. Nor did he know that the police had a tactic, named after a superintendent, John Freeman, of closing the tunnel when the central pens were full and directing arriving supporters to the side pens. Having failed to prepare, Duckinfield admitted when he gave evidence 26 years later, he failed profoundly at the match itself. Mole would be taken by a driver all over Sheffield in the hours before a match to check on arrivals and trouble spots. Then he would patrol around the ground leading up to the 3 p.m. kickoff, talking to his officers, particularly at known difficult areas including Leppings Lane. Once he was in the small control room which looked right over the Leppings Lane terrace, he stayed rooted in it. The thousands of people arriving to support Liverpool walked into the bottleneck, and the 7 turnstiles were not adequate to allow them through quickly. He conceded that he did not give any orders to alleviate the developing crisis outside, and as more people continued to arrive, the congestion compacted into a dangerous crush. Marshall admitted that the police had no control of the area, and he began to fear that somebody could die outside. He then radioed the control box to ask for the large exit gate, Gate C, to be opened, to allow a large group of people in and alleviate the crush outside. At 2:52 p.m, Duckinfield, who was asked 3 times, finally ordered Gate C to be opened, and 2,000 people were directed by police officers to go through at once. They included 30 who went into the central pens, were carried by the pressure of the crowd to the front within minutes, and were among the 96 people who died. Duckinfield admitted that when he ordered the gate to be opened, he gave no thought to where the people would go once they had been guided in. In detailed medical evidence, the inquest heard that the victims suffered compression asphyxia, causing their hearts to stop because the crush in the central pens was so fierce they could not expand their chests to breathe.
Why was not something? I mean, I understand, that the guy can say all he wants that they entered illegally or what have you, but why was no actual thorough investigation done? Why were families and the people who, like the 400 people who had to be taken, why were they not interviewed? I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine going to a place with my kid to take and watch something and the crowds being like that, and then not being able to do anything about it to get out, and literally being carried through by the crowd. How do you fuck up that bad?
The police and ambulance service were slow and disorganised in their response to the emergency the inquests heard, although some individual officers made great efforts to help. Under repeated questioning, Duckenfield admitted in his evidence that when he failed to foresee where people would go when he opened the gate, he froze, and he acknowledged that his failure to close the tunnel was the direct cause of the deaths of the 96 people at Hillsborough. At 3:15 p.m, even as people were dying, Duckenfield told Graham Kelly, the secretary of the Football Association, that Liverpool fans had gained unauthorised entry through the exit gate. Peter Wright had to correct the lie later that evening, but Wright himself personally oversaw his force's campaign which followed, to deny any failings and to allege that the disaster was caused by many Liverpool supporters having been drunk and arriving at the match late and without tickets. Devastated families had to identify their dead relatives, and they were then immediately quizzed by detectives about how much the victims had had to drink. At 6:02, the inquest heard, an inspector, Gordon Sykes, sent a police photographer out to take pictures of the litter at the turnstiles to, as Sykes put it, gather evidence of what had happened. That night, with hundreds of people in hospital and distraught families searching for missing relatives or being given the dreadful news, many South Yorkshire police officers went to their social club, the Niagara, where they themselves had a drink. There, some spread the stories of drunkenness and worse.
It's the reason why you don't allow the police to police themselves. I don't give a shit where you're at. I just, all of those families, man, that's a long time to be blamed for the misdeeds of someone else, and to be painted in a light that it's unjustified. I don't. Is there? I mean, was there any kind of recompense? There should have been, massive, massively, not only for the lies, for the deaths, for the damage done emotionally, whatever damage might have been done physically, and it's just, oh my god, dude, I can't fathom something like what I say. I can't. I don't know why I'm so surprised, but at the same point in time, for all this, just that's such a big sport over there. It would seem like investigations further than just what's being said would be done. I mean, this videographic evidence. Did nobody look at anything? Or at did nobody look at the lack of experience in those situations by the head officer? I mean, there's so many failings in this. Not only, but it's worse than the failings. It's the combined failings along with the attempted cover up and the shifting of blame to people that.
Most notoriously published that week in The Sun. The following morning, the Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, arrived at Hillsborough and was told by police that the disaster had been caused by a tanked-up mob of supporters. At the official inquiry by Lord Justice Taylor, the South Yorkshire police case was to blame supporters, but at the first inquest, which started in Sheffield in November 1990, the force made that case again. The bereaved families always protested against the prominence given to the allegations and against the verdict in March 1991 of accidental death. 6 years later, it emerged that the force had amended 164 officers' accounts of the disaster before they were sent to the Taylor inquiry, removing criticisms of the police operation and of senior officers.
How do you not fire an entire... Who the fuck is responsible? Wow. Bro. changed 160. What the actual fuck?
Lord Justice Stuart Smith, who conducted a scrutiny, did not recommend any new justice process. The families campaigned for another decade before, in 2009, the then Labour ministers Andy Burnham and the Hillsborough Independent Panel produced a landmark report which emphatically exposed the scale of police failings and the campaign to blame supporters, and led to the first inquest being quashed. Finally, after 27 years, the new inquests in Warrington have vindicated the family's long, traumatic fight for justice and delivered a verdict that the 96 people were unlawfully killed due to the failures of South Yorkshire Police.
So is there a history of this kind of stuff there? I'm just asking for posterity's sake, because that's just, the scale of it just about takes your breath away. Like, that goes so fucking, like, 164 reports on the failings of the officer in charge were removed before the inquest. How is that not? I mean, it boggles my. The worst part is the blaming of the victims. When you open a side gate like that, not before even that, not even taking a cursory fucking loop around to get a whole view of the surrounding area, pinch points and stuff like that. Not doing that, taking and not opening up other turnstiles and moving fans over to those, opening that gate. You killed them yourself. That officer killed them himself through sheer incompetence. And the fact that the South Yorkshire police covered it up the way they did. I'm gonna guess it nothing come of it other than, oh yeah, they lied. I'm gonna guess that's about it so far. Has any money changed hands from, like, the government to the victims? 96 dead, 400 people went to the fucking hospital. Not no telling how many thousands witnessed it, and the PTSD that probably come from it. I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Y'all be good to each other. Love yourselves. Peace.